Welcome back. I'm Surya, and this is video 3 in our series on two-part question essays. In the last video, we learned the 4-paragraph structure, an introduction, one body paragraph for each question, and a conclusion. Today, we are going to learn how to write 2 of these 4 paragraphs, the introduction and the conclusion. Normally, we would write an essay from beginning to end. However, for learning purposes, we will look at the introduction and conclusion first before moving on to the body paragraphs in the next video. And we'll use a new topic, self-employment, which we will carry into video 4 as well. Let's get started. Here is our question. Many people choose to be self-employed rather than work for a company. Why might this be the case? What are the disadvantages of being self-employed? This question asks us to do 2 things. First, we need to explain why many people choose to work for themselves instead of for a company. Second, we need to discuss the main disadvantages of being self-employed. Keep this question in mind. We'll use the same one in video 4 to write the body paragraphs. So, by the end of the next video, you will have a complete essay. Let's start with the introduction. The good news is that a strong task to introduction only needs 2 sentences. The first is your paraphrase sentence. You restate the topic of the question in your own words rather than copying it. The second is your outline sentence, where you tell the reader you're going to cover both questions. That second sentence is especially important for this essay type because it proves to the examiner that you've understood there are 2 questions to answer. That's it. It's simple, clear, and easy to write. Let's write an introduction to our topic. Before we look at the model answer, take a moment to read the question on the screen and see if you can identify a few words or phrases that could be paraphrased. Now let's look at one possible introduction. Our first sentence paraphrases the idea of people choosing self-employment. An increasing number of people today are deciding to work for themselves instead of being employed by an organization. Notice the paraphrasing. Self-employed became work for themselves, and rather than work for a company became instead of being employed by an organization. Next comes the outline sentence, which signals both questions. This essay will examine the reasons behind this trend and discuss the main drawbacks that self-employment can bring. Here, the reasons refer to the first question, and the main drawbacks refers to the second. In just one sentence, we have clearly indicated that both questions will be answered. To paraphrase effectively, there are 3 reliable techniques. First, use synonyms. For example, self-employed becomes work for themselves. Second, change the word form. For instance, the phrase to be self-employed can become the noun self-employment. And third, reorder the sentence. Start from a different part of the idea so that your sentence structure isn't identical to the original. One word of caution. Don't force a synonym if it sounds unnatural. It's perfectly acceptable to repeat an important word or phrase if the alternative sounds strange. The goal is to use a natural combination of these techniques rather than trying to change every single word. Now let's move on to the conclusion. Like the introduction, it should be brief, usually just 1 or 2 sentences. The essential part is the restatement sentence, where you briefly summarize your answers to both questions. You may also add a brief closing thought, such as a short recommendation, a prediction, or a final reflection, but it's entirely optional. The most important thing is that you don't introduce any new ideas in your conclusion. Now let's look at a complete conclusion for our self-employment essay. Take a moment to read the conclusion on the screen. As you read, see if you can identify how it answers both questions. If you need more time, pause the video here and continue when you are ready. Notice how the conclusion answers both questions. The opening part, freedom, higher earning potential, and the opportunity to do work they are passionate about, summarizes the answer to the first question, why people choose self-employment. The next part, unstable income and longer working hours, summarizes the answer to the second question, the disadvantages of being self-employed. The final sentence is the optional closing thought we discussed earlier. It rounds off the essay naturally without adding any new ideas. Everything in this conclusion comes from the ideas you have already planned. The conclusion simply brings those ideas together in a concise way. In the next video, we'll develop these same ideas into two well-structured body paragraphs. Now let's look at 3 common mistakes to avoid. First, copying the question word for word. The examiner doesn't reward copied language, so always paraphrase wherever possible. Second, mentioning only one question in your introduction. Your outline sentence should clearly signal both questions. And third, introducing a brand new idea in the conclusion. The conclusion is only for summarizing your main ideas. It shouldn't include any new reasons or examples. So here are 3 things to remember. 1. Your introduction should include a paraphrase sentence and an outline sentence that clearly signals both questions. 2. Your conclusion should briefly restate your answers to both questions without introducing any new ideas. And 3. Always paraphrase the question. Never copy it word for word. That's the end of this lesson. In the next video, we will complete this essay by writing the 2 body paragraphs for the same self-employment question. We have looked at the introduction and conclusion first for learning purposes. By the end of video 4, you will see how all 4 paragraphs come together to form a complete, well-organized essay. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.